Hey traders, what's up? The Watchlist video here for Wednesday, March 17th. Starting off with the SPY daily, we had a small gap up, closed red, but just another narrow. Look at the range on that candle compared to many throughout this whatever this is 6-month chart or so. Just another narrow range. Trading intraday, I'm gonna say, for like the last couple weeks, has been a lot like work. Trying to find stuff. And I shared what I would call a boredom trade that I did with the chat room today. And I always get such a great reception from that. Whenever I share a screw up, people are like super thankful and they kind of like, hey, I can relate and I do that too. And for some reason, it's refreshing for people to see other people screw up as well. And I mean, I get that, right? I don't want to ever have the notion that any trader out there never screws up. Like if there's anyone out there that's just a perfect trader, it makes you feel a little bit less professional, right? But I guess that's what it is. It's always refreshing to know everybody screws up, and it's because we're human. And what just I won't even go into it really in detail, but what it was on ISUN, and it was just a simple. It ran during lunch a long way. I said okay, I'm just going to show it. ISUN was on the gap playlist. It's just easier than trying to. So somewhere around here, I said, hey, I'm getting ready to go to lunch, and I always try to look for stuff that I will be interested late in the afternoon if it happens. So one of them I said was ISUN. I said, this breaks 18, like in the final 30 minutes of the day. I love it, right? Because then you've got the high of day above and shorts will be caught near the bell. And I love that idea. Well, look what happens. I said that, and the next thing I know, like 20 minutes later, all of a sudden this volume comes in and it rips through 18. Now I wouldn't take this, and I would most of our course takers would know not to take this as well, because this is a 5-minute candle and it's just run $1 during lunch to get to 18. I'm not taking that through 18. If it breaks 18 and breaks the high of the day and goes up another $4, I still won't feel like I screwed up. But if it does start ripping, right? If it breaks the highs and starts ripping, maybe great news came in, then it becomes a pullback play for me. And I start watching for the buy zone pullback. So there's no reason to ever chase. But what did I do? And this was a pure boredom trade because it had been a slow morning. I was up nicely on the day, by the way. I watched it break 18 and I thought to myself, you know what? It's going to flush out 18 to the downside, and then it could go and break the high of day and squeeze, right? It's a thin, whippy stock, spready and everything else. So I throw out some random bid. I think I put 1,500 shares, 1766. This is after when it was sitting above 18. I thought, you know what? If it just flushes down for a minute, I'm going to get filled. I'm a genius. By the way, that's no A+ setup that we teach. It's not even a C+ setup that we teach. It was a boredom. I'm going to throw out a bid and hope it just flushes and then goes right back up. So I get filled at 1766. And here's the next 5-minute candle. Next thing you know, it's down below 17. I hit out for almost $1 loss. I lost $1,200 in about 5 minutes on a freaking boredom C- trade that doesn't meet any of the parameters we teach. So I shared that with everybody, and I think a lot of people were able to relate to that. But the only reason I'm sharing it now is because it always goes back to the term I coined, unrelenting discipline. As a trader, you have to have unrelenting discipline, meaning you can't even do something like that, even though it's not A+. You can't just on a whim say, well, maybe it'll flush down a little bit and I'll get filled and then it'll run, right? Especially during lunch, if that setup doesn't meet your parameters. So it was a flat out boredom trade, and so unrelenting discipline, I relented for a little bit. I got bored throughout it, and I didn't think it would fall $1 that quickly. I thought, if anything, I might hit out for a 20-cent loss if it doesn't turn back up. But there was no process to that whatsoever. So I deserved to lose that 1,200. By the way, I still ended up nicely green on the day. Most of my money came from, I had a decent trade in EYES, but then I had a couple of pullback plays in Lizzie that paid me really well. I want to say I might have made over $2,000 on Lizzie alone. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. But anyway, so I had a decent day, but there was no reason to do what I did. So I just want people to understand, if you want to trade for a living, I'm not being overly dramatic when I say you have to have unrelenting discipline. And obviously you have to have a process. That's probably the most important thing, is a process. And then you have to have unrelenting discipline to apply that process day in, day out, even through periods of frickin' boredom, which is what this market's been doing. All right. Anyway, what are we watching for tomorrow? By the way, I don't have one. I always put a couple highlights in these videos and a couple highlights on the website from each day. I don't have one trade that I either saw posted or called myself or that really ended up ripping that I thought, hey, I'm going to put this on as, I try to show the highlights. I didn't have anything that I thought was worthy of the highlight page. How sad is that? So that's how boring today was. All right, so PFIE is interesting anyway because it had big volume. It's got recent high here and then like a 2-day high right around $1.50. In after hours, this went over 250 though. As I'm talking right now, it's trading at $1.80. So probably a gap play tomorrow. I definitely want to watch it. Let me pan out a little bit. LIFE, big volume and a pretty strong close. I'm going to watch that for a continuation pattern tomorrow. FTCV, kind of the same thing, just an absolute breakout, strong volume, strong close. JILL, JILL, again, strong volume and, relatively speaking, pretty strong close. Excuse me, keep in mind, I populate my charts. I'm an intraday trader, cash every night. Populate my charts with the stuff that's in play today, or as a morning gap play, or yesterday, or the day before, or the day before. I generally don't go back 2 weeks because I want to trade the stuff where there's volume and passion, okay? Hope that makes sense. None of these, obviously, are investment ideas. So that's Jill. Probably my favorite for tomorrow is Lizzie, Lizi. Big volume, 63 million shares. Closing well off its highs, though. But, any day this week, next week, if it breaks 15, you'd have to think, oh, then it's going to break 15.28 and maybe make a run at these recent highs of 16.75-ish. So if this one holds up at all, I'm just going to say it now, keep this on watch for several days. But definitely like the action in it today. I'll be watching it again tomorrow. AMC had this kind of breakout candle yesterday, and today kind of a quiet inside day. So I'm going to be looking for a turn back up tomorrow, only with an A+ intraday setup. SLGG. After this, I'll scoot over like that. Look at this. So after this big breakout, it gaps down, and then you have 2 red days. When you see this on a chart, you've got all these bag holders, 250 million plus shares from this day, and then it falls apart. Whenever you see that, it's really, really hard for that stock to come back up because you got so many bag holders. And next thing you know, it popped here, gapped down the next day, so it looks like, okay, that was a fluke, and it's going to roll over again. Gapped up, and it's right back up. This thing has impressive strength for a stock that looked like this a few days ago, right? Usually a stock's done when that happens, and it's holding up really well. So that's the extent of why I'm watching SLGG. SEEL had the pop, quiet inside day. Nice call by Ramesh in chat today through 450. It went to 492. I could probably put that on the highlight page. Percentage-wise, that was a nice little pop. Great heads up by Ramesh. I didn't take the trade, but that was a good post. CYTH, decent volume for the stock, closing well off its highs. Don't love this one, but I'm going to watch it. ENTX, I had on Bounce Watch today. I ended up with a small loss in a trade early, but it didn't meet my bounce play parameters. If you think about it, it was a break. Here's the opening candle. It was a break over 6 and a break of its early high. But how many times have you heard me say on a bounce play, I like an afternoon breakout? All right, so you didn't have that. After the big day, you didn't have it yesterday. There's the early high. Today, there's the early high about 20 minutes in, and then it tailed off the rest of the day. Now, if this would have, in the final 30 minutes, come up and broken 6 again here, I would have taken that with size because that's an afternoon bounce play trigger. So that's kind of, keep that in mind. That's kind of what I'm watching for tomorrow. And lastly, and I don't love this one either, AVEO, also looking for an afternoon high of day break, which you didn't have again today. Didn't have it yesterday. You did have it the day before, but that's it. I'm not in love with this list. I'm not in love with the market right now, but we'll add gappers to this list. Hopefully, there'll still be plenty to trade, and we'll see what happens in the morning. I'll see you all in chat.